my advice to growers is watch your finances, watch your finances, watch your finances. You can do everything you can to raise production and everything, but you've got to keep your finances in order.
Hello and welcome to Illinois Corn TV. My name is Shane Gray and I'm your host. Today we're talking with Martin Barbre. Martin served the White County Farm Bureau Board and the Illinois Corn Board, where in 2005 he was elected the president of the Illinois Corn Growers Association. Additionally, he served as the president of the National Corn Growers Association, and in 2018, Martin was appointed under the Trump administration to serve as the USDA Management Agency Administrator, where he oversaw federal programs including crop insurance. Most recently, Martin was honored in 2023 with not only the Master Farmer Award for Illinois, but also the World of Corn Award. Martin, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Shane. Good to be here. It's always great to talk about corn and agriculture.
I mentioned earlier this 2023 Master Farmer and World of Corn Awards. I know those are very prestigious awards and honors in our field of agriculture. What do those awards mean to you personally, and how do winning those awards reflect maybe the work you guys do on your operation?
Shane, to me, it was a fulfillment of what I've done all my life, being acknowledged by your peers. That's really the big thing about those, especially those two awards. I mean, your peers are the people that choose those winners, and it's the people you've worked with over the years. And to me, it was just a great feeling of knowing people recognize what you've done, what you've accomplished, and how you've been able to help agriculture move forward.
As you know, especially, in the number of years that you've seen in ag, and especially here recently, farming can be pretty unpredictable. Can you share a story about a time maybe in your experience on the farm where, and offer some advice to maybe the next generation coming through who are going to have to deal with tough times like this?
Absolutely, Shane. And when you talk about that, there's 3 years that come to mind, really. 1983, when we had the massive drought all over everywhere.
Right.
2012, we had a massive drought here in southern Illinois. Beans ended up being a decent crop. That was really the year that kind of sticks out in my mind. The most frustrating year I ever had was 2025, because everything we did was wrong. Didn't matter. It was just wrong. Whatever happened, the weather changed it. So, but 2012 was so neat. One of the interesting things that happened in 2012 was we had, of course, I was getting involved in leadership at National Corn at the time, and we had the Tokyo Broadcasting Company come out from New York City, and they wanted to see what the drought looked like and what corn was supposed to look like. So it's very easy. We took them to an irrigated field, and the drought corn on sand was about 2 feet tall and no leaves, no nothing, and 3 feet beside it where water hit, the corn was 8 feet tall. So very easy, very interesting to get that picture out into the world. So that's really that was the year that was tough. My advice to growers is watch your finances. Watch your finances, watch your finances. You can do everything you can to raise production and everything, but you've got to keep your finances in order.
Yep, I would agree. We talk to a lot of guys, not only through our farming operation, but through a crop insurance company that we own, trying to get guys to understand, bottom line, what's your break-even point on a bushel of corn, a bushel of soybeans, or whatever it is that you're raising. And, sometimes I'm really surprised at the number of guys who really haven't, or at least aren't that detailed in knowing that. So I would agree, man, know what your bottom line is and know what you got to do to keep things going here. Hey, you had mentioned something about, your leadership roles in agriculture, and you've had many of them. I know a big part of that leadership was with the Illinois Corn Growers Association. Can you tell us a little bit about, or maybe name a project that you were a part of that, when it was all said and done, you're like, that was a big win. That was a moment I was very proud of.
Yeah. And really, Shane, it goes back to when Illinois Corn, I mean, I got on in the mid 90s on the board, and so served through the original growth of building the ethanol industry. I mean, that was, we were there. Our president in front of me, Steve Pigg, was also National Corn Policy Chairman in 05, 04, when we were working on the original 2005 RFS. And we had the connection. We had Speaker of the House was Denny Hastert in Illinois. We had that connection. and to be involved at that time and to have that connection with his people to be able to push as far as we could. And we were told, don't push, we'll take care of it. Well, we had a lot of pushback from other states in national corn at that time, is you should be out here pushing as hard as you can. We're doing what the speaker's office told us to do, and it turned out the way they said it would. So, sometimes you just learn you have to work with your politicians and let them do their thing.
You do. You have to reach across both sides of the aisle in a situation like that.
That was a time where it was really, really, and we took that on, and then with the national corn and brought E15 into NASCAR, and that was I got to do that for 6 years. That was a great time, and get the fact that those high performance engines could run on E15 and get that out in the country was just a tremendous time and opportunity.
Yep. And, still today, it's still a fight and a big push and a major priority for the corn growers and the marketing board. E15 higher blends of ethanol or higher octanes, whatever we can do to, not only create a cleaner earth, but also create markets for corn growers. So I'd say you were a part of something there that's still going strong. And so thanks for being a part of that and getting all that rolling for all of us. I had watched you in an interview at one point in time, and it was in one of your leadership roles, and you had said something that you approached all of your leadership in ag through the perspective of like a producer's perspective. And when I heard you say that, I thought, that's kind of interesting. I don't know that most people know what you would mean by a producer's perspective. So I was hoping maybe you could kind of, explain what you mean by a producer's perspective when it comes to your role in agriculture.
Shane, I really got to using that when I was RMA administrator. And that's where because I looked at that role as how can I, as the administrator, shape policies and programs that help producers, no matter what the crop is, what, livestock, the whole thing. And so I just looked at it as I'm a producer. How would it affect me if I were producing this crop? And that's sort of the way I looked at it. I felt like, I didn't look at it as I'm this head of this big agency. I looked at it as I'm a farmer up here trying to help farmers get more out of their crop insurance.
I also read where you have on your farming, you do a lot of the precision farming practices. And I was curious to know, what is it on your farm as far as the precision part of it goes that you do now that you find being probably the most important or the most effective?
And Shane, we just done this, actually finally got the whole program together last year. We've always struggled with pre-plant anhydrous, and how do we put it on straight? Do we put it on at an angle? Then do we wait? Because if you put it on an angle in southern Illinois, you can see right where that row and you don't get the emergence over the top of it. So we set up our anhydrous bar and tractor, and then the planter tractor, we're actually putting anhydrous on straight with RTK, and then we can plant right square in the middle of it as we plant through the field. So we don't have to worry about running over the top of the anhydrous as we plant. That's really where we've really used it here in the latest. Yeah.
We're going to go to our not to be corny section of this. So I get to lay down one of these great jokes that we have. So here we go. See if you can guess the answer to this one. Not to be corny, but who's the leader of the corn army?
The corn army.
Yep.
Oh. Shane, I'm lost on that one.
It's the colonel.
The colonel, of course.
Right? That's not a bad. That's a pretty good one.
that is a good one. Yeah, I like that.
That's a pretty good one.
Right, the colonel. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we're near the end here, and Martin, just want to thank you for everything you've done for ag in general and Illinois corn growers, national corn growers. You've been a huge success and asset to these organizations and to all the individuals that you represent. So thank you very much for everything.
I appreciate that, Shane. Like I say, the world of corn was the one that was like, yes, I've got it.
Well, very well deserved. Very well deserved. So congratulations.
Appreciate it.